Simply put, today the Miami Dolphins were the better team. Simply just better than the San Francisco 49ers. Dolphins go out there and do what they need to do, win the final home game of the season against those 49ers. Up and down the field offensively, the defense looked pretty good. The offense looked pretty good. Actually, somewhat of a historic day for many a Dolphins. Devon Achane becomes the first Dolphin to rush for 500 yards and have 500 yards receiving in a single season. He also became the first Dolphin this year to rush for over 100 yards in a game. Now you're saying, no, definitely he's got a lot more than that. No, the passing yards and the receiving yards sometimes get all jungled and mumbled. And a couple of times he's gotten to 95, 96. Raheem Mostert had some games. Even Jalen Wright had some games in the 90s and the 80s. But no, the first 100-yard rusher of the year for the Miami Dolphins late in the season. Nonetheless, that happened also. More history being made. Tua Tagovailoa threw his 100th career passing touchdown today. He is just the fourth Dolphins player to do so, and Jonnu Smith having a tight end year for the Dolphins ages. Got his 74th reception, which is the most all-time. Then he eventually had his 75th. Most all-time in a single season by a tight end for the Miami Dolphins. And he also has the most yards a Dolphins tight end has had in a single season. Does that make you feel better about the offense this year? Or make you say, where are those numbers coming from? A little bit from column A, a little bit from column B, but you go out today, take care of business, and keep your playoff hopes slimly alive with 2 games left in the season. If you're leaving Hard Rock Stadium right now, or if you're leaving the bar, or if you're leaving a friend's house, or if you're just rocking out and hanging out and enjoying, thank you so much for joining me. I am Dan Day, along with Robert Grieper. We're going to be with you till 11 o'clock tonight. Want to hear from you, not just in the bad times, but in the good times. The number to call, 305-567-0560. That's 305-567-0560. Decent job by Tua Tagovailoa today. Great job by Devon Achane. He has just been a trooper all season long. And when you needed your troopers in a game like this, you got them. Big game from Devon Achane, rushing and also catching passes. Calais Campbell was missing for parts of the game, but at the end, he is the guy that put the hit on Brock Purdy as he was throwing, where Kader Kuhu comes up with a big interception to ice the game. Tyreek Hill, Grieper, let's be honest. Not a day for the highlight reel.
No, definitely not earning his paycheck.
That's a touchdown. I do understand that. But he had 3 drops. One of them in the end zone. I mean, he had some pretty bad drops. 2 of them, he just dropped them. One was lightly tipped, but still hit him in the hands. And what's the rule in the NFL if you're a receiver?
If it touches the hands, it should be a catch.
For one of the highest paid receivers of all time, and you are the leader of this team. He just looked out of sync for the most part today. Nonetheless, he did have some big catches in there. Like I said, he did get the touchdown. The Dolphins don't want to nitpick too much because they did exactly what they needed to do, exactly what I thought they would do. And you know what? You might have exactly this happening the next 2 games of the season, and we'll just have to see where it goes. Browns are now on the horizon. It's going to be an afternoon, not night game next week, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Cleveland. That might help with the weather a little bit. And then you get an afternoon game, supposedly January 5th against the New York Jets. That's going to be a cold one. Nonetheless, this is the Dolphins' chance to finish the season strong, to change some narratives, and at worst, if they don't get into the playoffs, once again, they are still mathematically alive, maybe they can get over that mental hump of winning in cold weather, winning on the road, maybe not winning against winning teams, but nonetheless, maybe getting all that done today. Big win, maybe a big step in that direction. Also, want to give some big-time kudos to Chop Robinson, a guy who we just weren't patient with. First couple of games of the year, we said, oh, Mr. Get Close but never get there. That's the story of his career. Well, he gets there now. Another sack for Chop Robinson towards the end of the game. Of course, you can't not talk about this defense without talking about Zach Sealer, another sack for him. And, of course, he is the real captain of this defense. The team, I thought, played well today. Like I said, you can nitpick some things. Tyreek Hill dropping a couple of passes, but for the most part, throughout the game, was there ever a point, Robert Grieper, that you thought San Francisco was the better team and would actually win against these Miami Dolphins?
I never thought that throughout the entire game. The Niners were playing exactly how you thought they were going to play, being how many men they were down already. I mean, the injury problems that they've had this year, they're substantial. I mean, you think the Dolphins have had problems? They take it to a whole nother level in San Francisco right now. And you look, they were dealing with third-string backups on their offensive line. The Dolphins, luckily, I think that was probably the strength of the team right now, is getting back Win on right guard and getting both Armstead and Lamb back today. That helped out because, as you saw and you mentioned earlier, they haven't had a 100-yard rusher this entire year. By getting that offensive line right today, that opened things up for the running game and gave you that balanced offense that you've been looking for the past 6 or 7 weeks now.
Right, especially your first-string big nasties absolutely helps. Teron Armstead makes a huge difference. And let's give credit where credit's due. Much maligned. Well, we'll get to Cater Cahoon later because he's been much maligned throughout his career here. But Ian Leichenberg benched, but he did part-time play today. And I thought when he was in the game, he did a pretty good job. And the offensive line looked pretty darn good when Liam Eichenberg was in there today. So maybe sometimes that's the fire he needed underneath his belly or under his booty or whatever else you want to say. Liam Eichenberg not absolutely terrible today. Sometimes a little benching does a little good. And Tua Tagovailoa, once again, he has destroyed one narrative, which is he's two-tapped Tua. The second he has to tap the ball twice, he doesn't know where to go. He has been very good in the pocket this year. He has been very good going through his progressions. And this team did very good also on third downs, third and short. They didn't do so good on third and long, but then again, that's the averages. You're going to do better on third and short than third and long, and they did at the end of the game to pretty much ice you. 305-567-0560. Call in and let us know what's happening. 560 WQAM. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Robert, calling from the 305.
Bring it, Robert.
Hey, listen, man. I want to give a shout-out to the O-line. And I want to give a bigger shout out to the hardest working man at the radio station, Mr. Dan Day. I love you, brother. I put the radio at 6 in the morning, you're there. I put it at 12 o'clock at night, you're there.
Thank you.
Just want to give you a shout out.
Thank you so much about that, Roger. Well, look, man, I love what I do, and I love people like you and doing things like that. I thought the offensive line, you get Teron Armstead back, you get those Isaiah Wynn, you have all those guys. Maybe you think Liam Eichenberg maybe had a little fire underneath him? You know, he saw I'm getting benched. Things are starting to look a little bleak. I better step it up. I thought he stepped up a good amount today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That offensive line makes it all happen. Thank you so much for that, Roger. We appreciate that. Going back to the phone lines, 305-567-0560, 560 WQAM. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is George from South Carolina, 864.
All right, George, what's on your mind?
I know Dolphin fans. I'm a Dolphin fan. I grew up in Miami. I moved to South Carolina. I still watch them from here. I know it was a good win, but these fans need to really know that not to believe too much in this team. This team is not built right. This owner needs to get rid of the GM and get himself a GM, somebody like.
Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I accidentally hung up on him. Please call back. I really apologize for that. Hit the wrong button on the end thing. So 305-567-0560. Back to the phone lines. 560 WQAM. I know that sounded really weird, like I'm trying to, like Gestapo or, shut somebody up because they're talking bad about Chris Greer. But no, I'm not. Please call back. I apologize for that. 305-567-0560. But back to the phone lines right now. 560 WQAM. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hey, go ahead.
Hey, this is Sean, the punt man.
Hey, Sean.
How you doing, bro?
I'm thinking about Funky Buddha right now, man. No, I'm kidding. I'm happy. I'm happy to celebrate.
They did what they're supposed to do. They did what we thought they were going to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I want to ask you this. What's the scenario for them getting into the playoffs? What has to happen?
A lot.
Ooh, so, of course, they have to win out. The Ravens are off the board. The Ravens would have had to lose out. They won yesterday. It really is going to come down to a lot of the Chargers and the Broncos kind of have to both. Well, either one of them has to lose out their next two games. They have very easy schedules ahead of them. And the Colts also have the tiebreaker, so the Colts need to lose another game. So you need the scenario of Broncos losing their last two and the Colts losing one of the last two, or Chargers losing their last two and the Colts losing one of their last two, and in combination. And to make it easier for you, I'm going to, or make it easier or harder, or maybe back you up. I'm going to tell you what some of these guys' schedules look like, and you and I, Sean, might be able to go out there and compete. The Colts get the Giants next week. I don't know if you've been following them this year. Whew.
Yeah. Ooh.
And the Colts get the Jaguars in the final week, and you know what the Jaguars can bring to the table. So the Colts have to lose to either the Giants and the Jaguars, or both. But no, it gets better because now we got to look at the Chargers, who they're playing to finish out the season. The Chargers are going to get the Patriots and the Raiders. They have to lose both those games, the Patriots and the Raiders.
Shit.
Hey, hold on, we're not done yet. We're not done yet, Sean. The Broncos actually could lose the last two games. They have the Bengals and the Chiefs, but you never know the Chiefs in the last game of the season. If they've tied up the first seed, there's no reason to play anybody because they're going to have basically 2 weeks off. So, yeah, it's slim, but hey, go out there. All you can do is take care of your business today, and that's exactly what the Dolphins did. Yeah, you have to be proud of the performance today. I thought throughout the game they were a better team.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't doubt that they were going to win that game. But you know, hey, I think everybody's playing for their job next season.
True.
The way it's looking.
That's one of those things.
mean,
people think guys want to punt on the season. The players don't because they want to put tape out there and they want to get out there and they want to get raises. Like they want to stay on the team or they want to make another team. So that's why you see teams sometimes you're like, why have they thrown in the towel? It's because they actually do have a lot to play for.
Man, you think Tyreek gonna be here next year?
Those 3 drops today after that tweet earlier this week where he put, "Come on, let's go. I want to go coach." He said that it was about he wants to go coach at a different level at a different time in his life. Maybe it was calling out Mike McDaniel. Maybe it was calling for a trade. I think it's.
I'm getting tired of that trolling. I'm getting a little tired of that trolling stick he be playing. Like, I'm just trolling. I'm just kidding. Nah, man, I don't believe it. I'm not buying it.
I think it's a 50-50 thing with Tyreek Hill next year. But it really kind of seems how this year finishes. I mean, if they finish on a 3-game win streak and it's another winning record and they have people locked down and it's going to be kind of maybe hard to trade Tyreek with the big contract, I think.
Yeah.
So
man,
I'll tell you, man.
It's like yes, sir.
I'm just telling you, you might see a lot of the same next year. When I say the same, a lot of familiar faces. Now, I'm not going to say familiar play, but you might get a lot of familiar faces. And when I say familiar faces, I don't just mean Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, you know 2 other names. You go ahead and give me the 2 other names, Sean.
Oh, look, Chris Greer and Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, man, I want them to win, but I really don't want to win. But I want them to win for the players, but in the city of Miami, I want them to lose so we can get a new GM. But then again, we got an owner that just pacifies, man, and just is really soft. I don't know, man.
Yeah, but Sean, it's like I love her. I hope the best for her, but I wish she would break up with me. But I can't break up with her. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, man.
This is the thing, and I'll warn you about this. I feel as though, and I could be wrong, and some people agree and disagree with me. I feel as though Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer are pretty much tied together because if you get a new GM, he or she is going to want to cook with their own groceries because they're not going to want to have another coach, other beholden and not beholden to them. You fire Mike McDaniel, well then, I mean, why would you fire Mike McDaniel and not Chris Greer? It's interesting though, but Stephen Ross does some strange things, man. He does things that not every owner normally does.
Yeah, man, but he's so patient though, man. I mean,
sometimes a little too patient.
Yes, bro. But hey, thanks for the call, man. Go Dolphins.
Sean, great hearing from you as always. I met Sean actually at Funky Buddha one of the Mondays where I did trivia, and he was really a great guy. And actually had some really cool pictures. Grouper, you're a big music fan. He's worked in the music industry. Pictures, literally, him and just Ozzy Osbourne backstage talking, stuff like that. It's just wonderful, man. Anytime people have stories like that, sports or no sports, that's a cool thing right there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, especially because you're not going to be talking to Ozzy Osbourne backstage anymore.
So 305-567-0550. I think we have George back from South Carolina. George, is that you?
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I did a bad job. I accidentally hung up on you. Please restart where you were at, and please just tell us what you said.
I love your show. I was just really talking and saying I'm a Dolphins fan. I was raised in Miami. I moved up here in South Carolina. I still watch them every single day, even though they're good or bad. But we are not a playoff team. This team needs to be built like everybody's talking in the trenches. Why do we want to go to the playoffs to get humiliated by Buffalo again? We need a GM who's going to come in here and build the trenches and make this team a Super Bowl team, like Kansas City, like Detroit, like Buffalo, like the good teams. We need Greer gone. He needs to go. It's enough with these fans. Don't the owner listen to the fans? Doesn't he listen to these podcasts and all these shows and knows that the fans want Greer gone? It's enough with this.
Well,
Enough.
George, did you
Yes.
see before the game near Hard Rock Stadium, someone bought a flying banner that said, Mr. Ross, Chris Greer is the problem, fix it.
Yeah, even the Jets, who suck. I hate them. I can't stand them. And they let their GM go and fire the coach.
Yeah.
So why can't we do the same thing? These fans pay a lot of money
True.
to go to the stadium to watch mediocre. The fans are tired. We all around are tired of watching mediocre team. We want a Super Bowl before we leave this earth or whatever. We want to see a Super Bowl.
George, it's not fair that you haven't had a playoff win in 24 years. Also, look, the Super Bowl. Give me a playoff win.
Yes, give me a playoff win. But that comes up to the owner. He has to say, what the heck? Somebody has to tickle his ear and say, we're not winning, the fans ain't happy, or we need change. Something is going on here. I mean, he's 85 years old?
Yeah.
I'm assuming he wants to win a Super Bowl before his lifetime ends. So somebody up there has to tickle his ear and say, hey, the fans are fed up with Greer. He needs to go. The fans are disgusted with him. He hasn't done nothing in 9 or 10 years that he's been here with his franchise.
George,
and we got 10 picks this year. He's going to mess that up.
if he messes the picks up, and once again, we did look at some of the stats that some of his draft picks have contributed nothing to this current team. Absolutely nothing to this team. So that is a good point that you bring up. And people are frustrated. I understand, but I do get this a lot. I get messages and I get these phone calls a lot on this show, especially of former season ticket holders saying that they are not renewing their season tickets because they can no longer put their hard-earned money and their efforts into an organization they feel as though isn't matching their hard-earned money and efforts.
That's what the fans have to do. Boycott and not go to the stadium. And maybe he'll listen. That's what the fans need to do. Or stand in front of the facility and picket or something so he can listen and hear the fans. The fans are tired of it. It's baloney what he's doing. Baloney what he's doing to the fans out here.
Yeah, George, a lot of people echo the sentiments that you say right there. And if you're saying, well, why would you boycott there? Well, look what's happening in Washington, in D.C. People for a long time picketed, fought. Eventually, they got some change made. They got a good draft pick in Jaden Daniels. Totally different team, by the way. They beat who I think is the best team in the NFL right now. They went out there and they beat the Eagles. No, minus Jalen Hurts. Kenny Pickett played most of the time, but still. Yeah, I mean, you have a right to be frustrated, and you have a right to have your voice hopefully heard. And that's why we give you an open forum to speak out loud. And for the pressure to be out there, we repost this on YouTube, and we let them know. Because as much as people say that coaches and players are oblivious to what's going on, they are not 100% oblivious to things that are going on. Because you cannot live in that type of a vacuum. And I know Stephen Ross is a very wealthy man, but he watches the news. He has people that stop him in the halls. He has co-workers. It's impossible to ignore everything. So continue to have your voice heard. And, I sound like I'm getting out and rock the vote, but I'm not. I'm just saying this Dolphins team, though, does get the win today. There are some positives. It looks like they're starting to get on the same page. Everybody together. Maybe too late. We'll see.